All right, hey guys, what is up? It is Bibzuda back here once again on the Outlast Trials. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing another big batch of very useful tips and tricks to help make your trials faster, smoother, and easier here in the Senyala facility. Of course, if you missed it, the first tips video, I covered every main trial that's currently in the game. And in this one, I'm going to be doing all the MK challenges because a lot of people definitely seemed interested in that in the comments. Some of these, of course, you might already know, but hopefully there's at least one or two things in there that'll help out even the most experienced players among you. If you're interested in seeing more Outlast Trials content from me, of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got tons of content coming out as Season 3 continues here, and I've got a bunch of additional ideas for even more of these educational videos if that's something you're interested in. And of course, don't forget to smash the like button as well if you are enjoying these, so you can let me know that you'd like to see more. Also, of course, let me know in the comments if you have any tips of your own. We could potentially make a follow-up video covering any additional little tips that are out there for people who might have them. And if any of these helped you out, also let me know down below. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to jump into the first MK in the list, which is going to be cancel the autopsy here. And we're going to cover the tips that I have for that one. I'll see you guys at the trial. All right, we're here at cancel the autopsy, and this MK, like many of them in the game, to be honest, is fairly straightforward. So there's not a whole lot of big tips that can help you out a bunch, but one of them that I used a lot when I was just getting started is using the back halls to traverse between the areas. So if we start here in Sector A, I'm not going to actually take the time to find the key unless I stumble across it. Of course, we don't have any of the high difficulty variators on, so we'll get highlights of the body locations. But once you find the key, which is generally pretty easy to find somewhere in the back, or it can be like in between the cars, it can be obviously very helpful to know the key locations. That'll come with time and doing the trial a bunch. But then you can come back here and lift this garage door. And again, I'm sure most of you might know this already, but that brings you into these back halls where no enemies are really going to be roaming around in these back halls. And you can just go straight through here to Sector B. Additionally, the monitors are also on these transitional locations. So even if you didn't collect the key that you needed in terms of looking at it and getting the hint, you can still find it here in the back halls. And then you're into Sector B. And it's most helpful, honestly, in Sector B because the majority, essentially all of the keys are in these back rooms of Sector B as opposed to the one that's up front. But one of the other tips I have here is just this one key location that might trip you up in Sector B if you're not aware of it, because usually you want to check this dark room, and then a little bit like over here. There's not going to be any keys like in this locker room area or anything like that, but there's one key location in this dark room right here that you might not know about, and it's right here. It can be right here next to the guard dogs here. And, you know, if you don't know about that and you're only looking in the back areas, that might trip you up. So I thought that might be a nice little tip for those of you who are trying to learn all of the key locations in the map. And, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the actual part of finding the keys. There's one other small tip that I want to give for the ending, so I'm going to skip to that now. Alright, so we're here about to finish the trial. Had to wait for our friend Henrietta to leave me alone. Got a little unlucky that she spawned in. I did think of one other thing, by the way, that is just a very small little tip that might help you out in rare occasion. But obviously, you know, we have the spade key here, and one of the potential spawns for one of the key corpses is actually in this corner right here. So you can look through this barred door and see it before. So like if you hit the button, you have to wait a little bit of time before the TVs light up and the shuttles or the shutter doors raise. So you can come over here in that time and just take a quick look there to see if it's the key that you need. It can be a little bit of a time saver. The only other thing that I have here is here at the ending. I'm not sure if he will. I realize I probably shouldn't have put on low enemy density, although I'm just doing the tutorial here. Coil will normally come out of this door. I don't know if he will here, but we'll see. What you can do to avoid him is actually come over to this laundry cart and just crouch down right here. So he is coming out. We have don't make noise on, so he's going to be blind anyways, but you can crouch right here and he will not see you. And then you can sneak out this way. There will normally be a giant here as well on higher difficulties, but the giant will turn around and either go to the door or go to the shuttle. If they go to the shuttle, you can just smash through this door here and then they'll go around to investigate. You crawl through and hit the button. If they go into this closet area, you just go the normal way. and hit the button. So the ending can be pretty easy. If you don't hide behind the laundry cart though, there's a bit of a delay in the gate opening. Coil can spot you, maybe cause you some trouble, but that little laundry cart can be your best friend in that regard. So that's it for Cancel the Autopsy. Again, pretty straightforward trial, but hopefully something in there helped you out a little bit. Next up we have, I believe, Sabotage the Lockdown, although I have to double check the list. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next trial. Okay, we are here now on Sabotage the Lockdown, and you know, if you thought Cancel the Autopsy was straightforward, Sabotage the Lockdown has to be the most straightforward and generally short MK challenge in the game. And as a result, I'm pretty much just going to talk about the method of getting to the generator. You have a few options. There is this handy dandy map that we can maybe use as a reference, and of course a lot of people, I think, know about the route through the back halls. So basically you start here with the fuel, and then you run down the stairs. You can go into this door and then straight to the garage and open it up and get into the back halls before Coil, who on higher difficulties at least will come out right about here behind you. He won't even be able to get there in time to stop you. And then provided you don't get any closed shutter gates, you can just walk through this entire back hall white area and come in either through this orange area or through this other garage door here. And then the generator is a short walk away, and the firing range, which is right here, is in darkness, which makes it easy. And there are no enemies in the back halls, and that's a perfectly good way to go. I think that's the more common way that most people know, so I'm not going to show that. Instead, I'm going to show what is actually the fastest way to go. And if you don't know, that does not actually involve the smashable doors. So I will head in there in just one moment. Okay, so we pick up the fuel. I actually had to go buy my prescriptions. I realized I had forgot, or I hadn't done it yet since my last relapse. But yes, so this is the main way you would run to get to the garage door, but instead of that, you actually want to run this way through this door. And the blind guy can be here. I mean, this is much more dangerous, of course. We're talking about the more dangerous way, but it is faster. You run this exact route, and honestly, we will take this. These are the doors that you can, of course, smash with the smash amp, or if you are in co-op, you'd hopefully be able to go through that door, but it's padlocked, so we can go around it like this, and then through this door. And then this is the main kicker right here, is if this shutter is open or closed. Unfortunately, we got a closed one, so we have to go around, and this is where smash will come in handy, because otherwise you'll have to go all the way around through the back halls anyway. But if you have smash, you can bash this door open. But ideally, if you are on a lower difficulty especially, I would say probably a majority of the time this shutter gate will be open. We're now on the other side of it, and then you just run through that, and hopefully this will be open as well, but if not, you can use this little side room. Otherwise, you would have to run back and go through the double doors, which are right over there, to get into the firing range, and then end up coming out through this section. But at the end of the day, that is going to be your fastest route to get to the generator. And there's not much else to say about Sabotage the Lockdown, to be honest. Although one thing to make note of is if this window is available or not. Because if it's not, you're in a bit more of a precarious situation if someone sees you and tries to come after you. Because of course, you're going to have to either do like a hit juke or use an item to get past them here. But if someone sees you from over there, you'll have enough time to like stop doing the generator and then jump through the window if you have it available. So that's pretty much it, you guys, for the Sabotage the Lockdown tips. The ending is generally pretty easy on this one. As long as you go quickly, Coil often won't even spawn, and there's an entire loop where you can easily run around the giant, who will normally be here if you are on a higher difficulty. I don't think they'll be here now, but you can easily just run up here or down there amongst the barricades if the giant is up on the top level. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, Sabotage the Lockdown, pretty straightforward. I'm sure many of you already know the best route for it there, but hopefully that helps people out who are maybe trying to get a little bit of a faster time. Next up, at least in order of the custom trials, we have Eliminate the Past. So I'll see you guys for that one. Okay, we are here on Eliminate the Past, and this is one of the more unique MKs in the game since it centers around a timed mechanic, which actually no other MK utilizes. Deface the Futtermans has a similar ending style, but this is the only trial that you actually have a time limit on the whole objective. Also, what you have to do here at the very start, don't forget to smash the window. It's customary. And now we are going to get started with the trial. I'm going to mostly give tips as I do a little bit of it here, and then we're going to show something at the ending. First of all, for the timer, just so you know, you start with 7 minutes in solo, and each additional person you add will take away 1 minute. So with a full team, you get 4 minutes. But yeah, first of all, I want to talk about the distribution of the boxes. And it's important to know that the boxes are not evenly distributed. It's something you might assume given how other objectives work in the game, but you will not find, there are 9 boxes that you need to find, plus this one, so 10 total. You will not find like 3 in B, 3 in A, and 3 in C. There can be more than 3 in any of them. Some of them, well, probably unlikely for any of them to have 0, but it is definitely not easy to find, all of them just by basing it on that. Actually, don't know. Can you see the boxes with this beforehand? I've never actually tried this. We're learning live here. I don't see any, but this is something I wanted to bring just to showcase. You can. There was a box right there. X-ray can be used to find boxes before you even start the trial, but even if you don't use it like that, having X-ray is very nice because a lot of the boxes can be hard to find and you'll take a long time to memorize all the locations. Especially, I mean, maybe you never will. I'm not sure I still have them all memorized yet, but definitely make use of X-ray and just know that there can be any number of boxes in any of the sections. Now, the only other thing I wanted to show, because it's mostly just find the boxes and do your best here. But there's one other thing that happens if you get all the boxes that you might not know about if you've never done it before. Just because you might think, of course, you're trying to find all these boxes in order to reduce the difficulty of the escape. Well, something special actually happens if you find every single box. So I'm going to try and do that now, and then we will see what happens. All right, there we have it. We managed to get all the boxes, and X-ray definitely very useful. I might have to be taking this on this trial in future events. I still had 1:30 left on the clock, which is, I think, the fastest I've ever gotten all the boxes. I haven't honestly done it that many times, but yeah, definitely would recommend X-ray. One thing I would say if you are going to use X-ray on this trial is to use it and then run around as much of an area as you can. Even if you see a box, note its location and then keep looking for others so you can make the most out of your X-ray timing. Just kind of an obvious tip, but also, maybe you would tunnel vision on the box and just go grab it. You can definitely get more intel in the amount of time you have. But anyways, here is what happens if you smash the button and have 0 threat level on the counter. You got all the boxes. Difficulty 0, and instead of Sector A opening up, Sector C is going to open up, and you actually just get to straight up walk out of the trial with no resistance, pretty much. I've had there be a giant here on higher difficulties, but I think that's not supposed to happen. Coil will not be here in the outer area, and you can just completely leave. So it makes the ending completely free, and not only does it save you time waiting if you didn't get all the boxes, because I saved 1.5 minutes by getting them all, you also save time having to run through the entire basement to get here. So pretty cool little thing that happens if you do get them all, and if you didn't know that, maybe you will be more interested in going for all the boxes in the future. Next up, we have Release the Prisoners on the custom list, so I will see you guys for that one. Okay, so we are here on Release the Prisoners, which is another fairly unique MK challenge, and I quite like the way they've designed it, where you have actually one of 4 locations you can spawn in, the different sectors of the station being A, B, C, and D. And if you're in a group of 4, one of you will spawn in each section, so you're completely separated at the start. And yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of that idea, and I also like how it is implemented in Incinerate the Toys. And I'm definitely looking forward to additional potential dividing or multiple spawn point trials in the future. But anyways, the first thing I want to mention, aside from obviously learning all the sectors and what locations are available in each and where potential key spawns are, is the fact that the Smash Amp is extremely useful on this trial, especially in solo. and especially if you want to go for an A+, because one of the most annoying things on this trial when going for an A+ in solo is the secondary objective, and pretty much never will you be able to find like all 3 of the posters in your specific section. Also, good to know what the key stand looks like so you don't miss it. It can hide very easily in plain sight. But yeah, of course, the Smash Amp is going to be incredibly useful for you because each of these sections is connected by a co-op door. So here we see it's Sector C. We can bash it to get inside of Sector C. And additionally, getting from Sector C or D through the hallway can potentially cause some sticky situations with coils. So you may prefer, if you get C or D, even to just run through the station and bash your way to A or B. Most likely B. B is definitely the easiest one to reach the security room from. And as you can see, we got ourselves a poster, and we can go through this door here to get to the lever, which allows us to reach the security room. So I would say that Smash is an extremely useful amp on this trial, but if you don't have Smash and you would still like to get those secondary objectives, because also keep in mind if there's a singular secondary objective like locate the broadcast or find the radio, then that can be in any sector on solo. It doesn't have to be in the one that you spawned in. One thing that's very useful, especially if you spawn in Sector B or C, is that you can access Sector A and Sector D once you've hit this button here to pretty much, end the trial. There's some doors that open up and are available to you afterwards from the hallway that leads outside. So I'm going to showcase those here. This is something I found out quite a while ago when I was doing this trial a bunch, because those secondary objectives were always giving me a huge pain. Obviously, also X-ray can be quite useful on this trial to help you find those posters. We did manage to get them all, although of course I did use the Smash amp to help myself out. But basically, once you get to here, you can actually turn right, and this shutter gate right here is now open. This would previously have been closed. You might have seen it when we were walking through this area in our sector. This is now open, and you can access the entirety of Sector D through that shutter gate and look through here and find your secondary objectives or items or whatever you want. Might get actually grabbed by the pusher here. I don't think I have evasive. And then alternatively, if you turn left here before going outside, this door is also available. This door would have previously been blocked by the red bars that don't let you pass, but this leads straight into the Sector A area, and there's the gate that leads out. And you can again go through this entire sector and find things that you want. So it's a nice little trick, especially if you're going for an A+, or it's not really a trick, it's just a nice thing to know that might not be obvious, because usually when you hit that button, you are just on your way out of the trial and you don't look around too much. So that can hopefully help some people out who might struggle to get that secondary objective done, and yeah, easier access to the other parts of the station without needing to bring the Smash amp, although again, Smash is very useful. I normally only bring it in teams in case people go down and need my help. It's much quicker to access their side with Smash. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Release the Prisoners. The ending is nothing special, really. Although one thing I would say is if you run here quickly enough, you can often beat Coil here. He might not even make it, so that can be pretty helpful. But yeah, that's about it for Release the Prisoners. Definitely one of the trials that can be done most quickly, especially if you ignore that secondary objective. But anyways, we're going to be moving on to the final MK challenge of the police station, which is Teach the Police Officer, one of my favorites. So I'll see you guys for that one. All right, we are here on Teach the Police Officer, one of my favorite MKs, as I mentioned. And to be honest, this one is fairly straightforward as well. Most of the police station MKs are pretty straightforward and what you need to do. But this one I know a lot of people can struggle with because the map is so big and especially quite vertical, which I know some people struggle with. I love what they did with the map of the police station here, adding this entire upper floor and allowing you to access all of the levels is a really, really cool design map, and I'm hoping they return to it in the future. Anyway, I'll stop gushing about that. I already went and opened this first door, but obviously you get the key at the start, and then you can only go into this room and open this door where you get 2 more keys. So I have the eye and the spade key, and if you don't know how the trial works, that's pretty much the most important thing. Obviously knowing where the doors can spawn and everything like that can be helpful, and obviously, you know, will help you avoid getting lost if you know the map well. But the main thing to know is how the trial actually works. So we have the I key and the spade key, and there's actually a little map down here on the blackboard that I only recently learned about that basically tells you how the trial works. So we come into the trial here at the SAS, that's what brings us to the trial, and then this is the room we are in right now. Now the room we just entered is this blue room, which has the 2 keys that we got, and it shows you that whenever you go out and find 2 more rooms to unlock, each of those rooms will have 2 keys in it. So the I key and the spade key will lead to rooms with 2 more keys. You can never get the real from one of these first 2 keys. And then from there, the 2 keys you get from one of the rooms, they will both lead to an empty room, and then 2 of the keys you get from the other room, 1 leads to an empty room, and 1 leads to the real. So out of the 4 keys you'll get from opening the eye and spade door, just 1 leads to a real, the rest lead to an empty space. So that's a pretty important thing to know. So if you are running around upstairs at the start, I usually like to run a certain route, which you can watch me play this trial in my other videos if you want to see the route I run for the doors. But if I'm over here and I see maybe right there is a door, or over there, and they're not one of the 2 keys that I have right now, like here we go. We have the bunny door right here. So I know, because of how the trial works, that the bunny door could have the real behind it. And one thing you can do, this is kind of a separate tip, is having the X-ray rig, which can be even more useful in groups because someone can hold all the keys while X-ray users disperse and try and find the thing, find the real. You can basically use the X-ray rig and look inside, and you'll be able to see the real. So we know right now that the bunny door does not have the real behind it. So basically, even when I go open my doors, and by the way, look how crazy X-ray is on multi-floor maps like this. Pretty awesome. Now when I go open my doors, and we have the I key here, so this will guaranteed, again, give us 2 keys inside, and one of them is the bunny. Now there's basically no point in me going and opening the bunny door because I know for a fact, because of X-ray, that there is not a real behind it. So that can save you quite a bit of time. If you're just roaming around the police station, you see a door that you can't open yet, just using X-ray to peek inside can be very helpful. So I like pointing out the different ways that certain rigs can be more useful on certain trials like this because obviously most people are going to be using stun in general. Obviously, if you have the key, there's no reason not to just go ahead and put it in and maybe grab the reel. Don't waste your rig in that case. But yeah, one thing that's also important to know about are these drop downs here, which are very helpful. There's a drop down there, and then also you can drop down from the top floor right there, so you can come all the way down to the basement very quickly. Also, one thing that it seems like a lot of people don't know, and this is one of the few, if not the only map that has it, these little things that point at you and block the gates are very annoying sometimes, but you can just hit them with a throwable, and that'll disable them temporarily and allow you to run through. Seems like, honestly, a lot of people don't know that. I see a lot of comments in my stream saying, what, you can do that whenever I, do it. And I know we already have this key, but there you go. You can see the star door will have the reel behind it. Very, very noticeable and easy to distinguish it, in my opinion. And you can open it up, and then like, obviously I had the key, so I could have just opened it, like I said. But if you don't, you can easily figure it out with X-ray. And of course, the best way to get back generally is to find pretty much any staircase, as most staircases, if not all of them, will lead you all the way back upstairs if you keep following them. And there's also one last thing that I want to give. There's so many little tips on this trial. I mean, the more you play it, the more you learn all the little intricacies and the little different ways you can go in the map, the faster you'll be. But you can find this little room down here, which is, for a point of reference, down the bottom of these stairs and right down the hall from the rec room. This room has a barred door in it, which leads you straight back to the room with the projector, so that can be pretty helpful. So basically just did a whole playthrough of this trial at the end of the day, but either way, I hope those tips helped you out. Of course, if you don't know, even in higher difficulties, pretty much you can just put the thing on and just run. Very, very rarely Coil will come out of this door, but you can often even just beat his spawn and get up here before he comes out. So yeah, hope these tips help you out with Teach Police Officer. Again, it's one of my favorite MKs, and in my opinion, the more you play it, the more you'll enjoy it. You'll know where the key doors can possibly be, and you'll learn all these little shortcuts and different ways you can go to get around the map more quickly. So hope you enjoy those tips, and hope you like this trial as a result. Now we're going to be moving on to the fun park next, and the first trial there will be Punish the Miscreants. So I'll see you guys at that one. Okay, we are here on Punish the Miscreants, and for this trial, it is mostly straightforward once again, but there's a few good things to know, particularly when it comes to playing in teams and also how to get around the map a little quicker. So first of all, I'm sure most of you, or almost all of you, have seen this, but if you're in a group and you're not sure which children are still yet to be grabbed, you can look at this board and the lights indicate where they are. Obviously the barn is where you are, and there's one child upstairs, then there's one in each section of Futterland here. The other thing that I would definitely recommend paying attention to is the ability to use the smash amp on this trial in particular, because this map of the fun park is probably one of the more annoying ones to navigate in terms of blocked doors like this one. So I will go through here. This is normally the way you have to go. But one thing that can be nice to do is each of the connecting sections, so there's basically two of these doors. There's one here that connects this area to the diner area, and there's one more basically directly opposite this that connects the diner area to the merry-go-round section right there. And those can be very useful, and the most important thing is they're reliably always going to be there and openable. However, another thing that you should know when you're doing this map, because it's something you might have forgotten due to playing Open the Gates and different trials that are also on this map, Open the Gates and Deface the Futtermans both have the setup where you are required to go through the main way only. On this map, you can often get entire open sides through the entire map that you can take advantage of. So this one does have the padlock door, but say that wasn't a padlock door, and then that door right there is currently open. So then you could literally just go up this entire left side to get to the second section. And then if we walk a little further, we also see that that gate is open as well. So we could just go straight up and down the left side if that padlock door was open. Or, I mean, we could open the padlock door, of course, and then still take advantage of that. The only other thing really that I would say is that if you didn't know, the locations of the children and the buttons will always be the same relative to each other. So what that means is basically the children will always, like if this child spawns right here and you know that the child is right there, that means the button will always be in the same place, right? And that is over here in this booth. And for every child spawn, there is a corresponding button spawn that is always the same. So if you learn those, you can start to learn them. So like if I maybe came to this side first, I saw this button here and hit it, I would know where the child was. It would be in that other booth across, and that goes for every child in the map. Obviously there's a lot of different spawns, and it would take a long time to learn if you even wanted to do that, but it is possible to do because, again, if you didn't know, they do always have the same spawn according to where the button and child are. And then lastly, just one more small tip for the red area is it's pretty much never worth it to waste your time going into any of these rooms right here. The button to press is essentially always on this side of the area. I'm pretty sure there's no button spawns in any of these middle rooms here. The child can be in there, of course, as it is right here, but none of these rooms here will have the button, so you're probably better off, unless someone gets in your way, like this guy, you're probably better off going around the way I did to get to this side and then searching for the button from there, since that will just save you time in having to follow it back from the child if you're not someone who knows exactly where to go. You can jump over this table on some trials, but maybe not on this trial. Oh no. A little bit strange to trigger that jump, I guess, but anyways. That's pretty much it for tips on Punish the Miscreants. It is, again, a fairly straightforward trial. Of course, if you don't know, when you throw the last Miscreant in here, Gooseberry will always spawn from that door, and you can easily beat her back to the shuttle, so she's mostly a non-factor. And yeah, it's honestly a bit of a long trial solo. You have to go back and forth with the heavy objects, but it shouldn't be too difficult, especially if you're able to make use of the additional doors from Smash and everything like that. So yeah, hope that helped you out. And then the next trial we're going to look at is Open the Gates, so that should be a fun one. Definitely a trial that's been more difficult in recent patches. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, we have arrived at Open the Gates, and this trial is, again, fairly straightforward. It uses the exact same map layout as the prior trial, Punish the Miscreants, and also Deface the Futtermans, which we'll be covering later, although in that trial you, of course, traverse it in reverse order. Main difference, of course, being that you have to get through these gates, and these gates are the only things that let you traverse between the sections, aside from barred doors, which are available in between other sections. And honestly, the main tip I have for this trial, it's not a very big one, although some of you might not know about the potential big help it can bring, and that's with the stun rig. The stun rig has an upgrade that when you throw it, it disables any nearby traps that get hit, and specifically for this first gate, you can actually skip the entire gate if you get really lucky, or if you have multiple people. There's certain places you can throw your stun rig. I believe this is one of the spots. This has worked for me once out of like 20 throws to get all 3. But like that is how you throw it. You still get cooldown reduced and everything, but that possibly takes out some of the little battery packs. But even if you're not trying to do any little speedrun skips like that, which again rarely work, did we see we got this one? This one has been disabled, but we didn't manage to reach this one. So you do, I mean, okay, so we actually got 2 of them. So we almost got the skip there. So I mean, there you go. You can see it saved time in that regard. Where's the other one that we got? Maybe in this room on the left wall. Yeah, so we got those 2. And damn, maybe if I had thrown it just a little bit more at an angle, we would have gotten all 3. But there you go. You can see that that can be helpful to skip. And then if there's a particular one that's out in the open in an annoying spot or in the light somewhere, that can be very beneficial to just, you know, throw your stun rig at it, or even better, well, depending on if you want to use up your whole cooldown or not, you can lure an enemy over to it and then throw the rig to get rid of that and stun the enemy. So that's pretty much the main one with this, I would say. But yeah, just make sure you follow the wires. And I will give one other tip that I see tripping people up quite a bit on this trial in terms of where to look for some of the batteries. Obviously, the obvious wires that come far away, you can pretty easily see. But for this section and the next section, they're both pretty similar in layout. There's often a battery wire that goes off right next to the gooseberry. There's often one wire that goes away from it from very nearby the start. So this one's not too bad, but especially in the next area, you can see this happen a lot. So like there could be a break in the wire right here and it goes into there, and people will spend a lot of time searching everywhere else, but you do want to check closer to the door. Similarly on this one, we have that one there, which is easy. But then there could be a break closer to the door right here where it would go into this. Wow, I thought it would be far away enough. But it could go either into this booth or this booth, so make sure you check for that. And then the only other thing, like I mentioned, is those barred doors that you can use if you need to get back to the... Oh, I thought that... Is this not usually a barred door? It looks like one. I thought that was usually a barred door. Maybe we got it blocked off somehow. Or is this going to be one over here? Interesting. Maybe this is the only barred door. Maybe we're all getting better together. We're all learning here. But actually there you can see one, I believe, right over here. Yeah, and this part of the map over here can get very sticky with the giant and gooseberry, so opening this as an alternate escape route can be pretty helpful. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. Again, it is not the most complicated trial out there, but it can be very difficult just due to the enemy distribution, as on the higher difficulties, the Night Hunter and Gooseberry will be around in several sections, so I wish you the best of luck with that. If you have any good tips for this trial, make sure to leave them in the comments, of course, and we will move on to the next one. Of course, a good tip for every trial is to learn where the objectives spawn, but that's hardly a productive thing to talk about for every trial, so we'll be back for the next trial, which is going to be Deface the Futtermans, actually. So we'll be back here in a similar location. All right, here we are on Deface the Futtermans. A little note on the order. I know Deface the Futtermans, I'm pretty sure is the newest trial on the Fun Park, but for whatever reason, this is the order that it is in the custom trial picker. That's the order I'm doing these MKs in, is whatever order they come in the custom trial picker is how I'm just going down the list. So this is the next one here. And for this one, it's not too complicated of a trial. I know some people get frustrated with the targets juking them. So that is obviously something you need to be aware about. And, you know, it just comes with time and getting better. A few things, there's a couple targets that always spawn, obviously this one being the clear one that is at the very start. However, there's also a target right up here at the gate, right here. This one you probably have noticed always spawns as well and doesn't juke, so it should be pretty easy to hit that one. Speaking of non-juking targets, it's kind of important to know, although you'd obviously see it when observing them, is that any targets that are up in this area will not juke. They'll just move back and forth fairly quickly, but they will not have a little gate that blocks anything, and they also will not juke. They can be up, like pretty much they'll be just up above any of the booths. There's one right there, actually, good example. As you can see, it just moves back and forth. It doesn't juke you at all. You can just hit it pretty easily, so it's nice to know that you don't have to worry about those. Maybe you can get a target hit on those a little bit more quickly. The same can be said for the targets that are at the end of the trial, which you have to complete in a certain amount of time before the shuttle leaves. That of course will be a lot easier to hit. However, they do have fence blocks on those, even though they do not juke. So yeah, nice thing to know right there. And then of course another big, pretty obvious tip, but would help you a lot if you haven't paid attention to it already, is to use sound to find them. So obviously it worked out pretty well there. Like I was kind of wondering, where is this one? But if you listen, and I'll be quiet I'll get nearer to it to make it more obvious, I suppose. But if you listen, it's very obvious and very distinct, the sound that these targets make. So that can be a big help in finding them, as long as you have, decent pair of headphones. It'll help you out in finding these targets. We did get 2 of the non-juking ones there, so that was kind of nice. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. There is one more target that always spawns, and it's in this section right here. So I will show you that. This is not the one, but we will get rid of that one. It's actually on the other side of the diner. This is not it either, but we're just getting rid of the ones that we find as we head over there. You can also very often hear a target that's in the next section when you are around this area in particular, or that other side of this same spot. Don't get too confused by those. Just make note of their location and go get them when you arrive at the other area. We're going to have to head through this way. Of course, you can open up the diner if you follow the wire that's attached to the door, and there's another batch of heart soup in there that will help you out in avoiding having to backtrack all the way to the beginning of the trial. Again, something that I'm sure is very clear to anyone who's done this trial. But lastly, oh, that's annoying. Brick got stuck in the wall. This target right here will always spawn for whatever reason. It does have a fence. It does do the little jukes back and forth, but it will always spawn. This one right above the root canal sign. Damn, it is being feisty right now. Oh, and now it's gonna. Okay, good. So yeah, that's another good thing to know. As far as the rest of the targets go, I don't think there's any other guaranteed spawns. But one thing that's very important for the ending sequence is to, again, listen very closely to hear where the targets are, but also just quickly go in and out of each room, because there can only be, I think, at most one target in the room, and you'll be able to hear it pretty clearly if you go into the room. However, there's often a lot of targets, in the hallways between rooms. So make sure you're always looking up, as they are generally in the rafters of the area if they are there. Maybe I'll quickly skip to the ending and just talk a little bit about where they can be, since of course if you struggle with that part you're going to be in a bit of trouble. So I'll be right back. Alright, so we're here at the ending. Obviously it can be nice to have some bricks in case you miss. That'll save you from having to come back down and get more hearts from the soup here. But yeah, again, not too difficult this ending in my opinion, but obviously it helps when you learn the target locations. So when you're walking around, just be looking at these wooden rafters. I often come down to this room first, since I fairly frequently get a target in this room, either there or there. So you can keep an eye out for that one. Often there can be a target right there on top of those shelves, and then you'll almost always get one in this hallway somewhere. So just like look up at the rafters, and there's one right there. Even if you can't hear them, maybe you can still get them. There can actually be one right above the insertion gate, and there's our last one. So as I said, the hallways often have them, but you can just quickly jump in. There could be one in there or up there. Just making you aware of a couple of the locations. Again, on the shelves in here. I don't think I've ever had one that's been outside in this little section. I don't know if that's a possible spawn, but I've never had it. And then, you know, just quickly peek into every room. You should be able to hear or even see the targets fairly quickly when you do check for them. And just don't panic and wait patiently because, again, those targets do not try and juke you. And you can just patiently wait until it lines up nicely. Toss your throw, and you do have plenty of time to get out of this trial. So don't stress too much on getting out. And, you know, as long as you are calm, cool, and collected, hunt down the targets in a at least reasonably fast manner, you should be home free. And always, of course, remember that the shuttle's already here, so those doors are open. You don't need to worry about hitting the button. So, yeah. I like the trial. Hopefully that'll help you enjoy it a little bit more as well. And next up, we're going to head to Drill the Futterman. So, a similar trial, but a little bit easier, probably, in my opinion. Alright, here on Drill the Futterman, I would say this trial is definitely a bit easier than Deface the Futtermans. First of all, the targets do not juke you at all. They will just move back and forth at a constant rate, although some targets will move at different speeds than others. It generally makes it a lot easier to kind of just run around the trial in a bit of a hectic fashion and just be sniping targets as you go. That's why I like this trial quite a bit. And obviously the same tips apply for finding the targets. Just listen up for their sound and you should have no trouble really. So we're going to get rid of this, which is actually the final target in the trial. Not a whole lot to say about the target section. Obviously this dark side is going to be easier than the lit up side, but for the most part you should be able to, once you learn all the locations and stay on the move, be fairly easily able to get through the that section without too much trouble, in my experience. Now, something people do struggle with, in my experience in my stream a lot, is actually how to even get to Gooseberry's office. I feel like almost every time we do this trial with a random group on stream, we're waiting for at least one person for quite a while in Gooseberry's office, which is fine if you don't know. I just think I would like to spread the knowledge here and maybe help some people out. Before I do that, I do want to showcase a small tech that will slightly speed up things very slightly in certain places. This is one of them that this is where I originally learned this little tech, and basically you can, if you slide off of these ledges at an angle, you won't get the stagger animation when you land. It doesn't save you from damage or anything, but it could let you continue your speed run and running a little bit quicker. So you slide, and as you see, you kind of just like drift down, and then you can stand up and keep running. There's no animation or anything like that for when you stagger and hit the ground. So little small tech there. So obviously we drop down here. This is the route I like to go. I turn right and then go straight this way. Don't go in that door, and then get to this door and go through here, and then take this door right here. And then you're in this lit up room. Whenever you're in the lit up room with the engine and the tank and everything, the stairs to Gooseberry's office are in that room. So that's the preferred route, at least for me. However, you could get an occurrence where this door will be blocked by either yellow bars or padlocked or something, and that means that route is a no-go, so you have to go back. And to get to the office from the left side, the best option is to take this first door, go under the crawl space or around, and then take this door right here. And now you're back in the same room as that door, and you can take the door on the right to get to the same tank room where Gooseberry's office is located.
Tricky little bitch!
Oh, yeah? You're just cheating today? Interesting. The only other issue you might run into in this case is if this door is also blocked with some sort of impassable way, you can just continue further down, and this door actually also just brings you straight into the room. So any one of those routes is perfectly fine to use. Just make sure you have a backup in case something's padlocked, and you should be able to get to the office no problem. There's usually a night hunter down there during higher difficulties that you have to watch out for, but usually even just a simple bottle will be enough for you to get past him safely. The last thing I'm going to show on this trial is the fastest way to get back to the shuttle, just in case you would like to know that as well. There's many ways you can go, but this is going to be the way that'll get you there most quickly. And there is an enemy that spawns. This guy's being a little loud for some reason. There's an enemy that spawns right out of vision here on the left, so you do need to be aware of them. But if you throw a brick or a bottle, you can even, or sometimes you can even just run by them. They'll spawn right there on a higher difficulty, and you should have no problem. And then you just take the first door you see and go straight across to this door, right out of that door, and then here's the staircase. If there's a padlock or something in the way, there's another door here you can take to get around and go through that door. Or if the first door was padlocked right there, you can take this way instead. So with all of these options, there should always be a way to get through to this staircase. And then you go down the stairs, and this is the point where I see a lot of people go the slower way. The fastest way is actually to take a left out this stair door and then go down the ramp instead of going down the stairs and through all the rooms. So that's a little bit of a shortcut you might not think of. I know I only just recently figured that out. And then you go straight up the canal and you're back at the shuttle. So should be pretty consistent in using that route to get out. And hopefully these tips help you out a little bit on Drill the Futterman, excuse me. This is one of my favorite MKs, so I hope you guys will enjoy it as well. That's it for the fun part. We're going to move on now to the orphanage, and the first trial we have to show there is Feed the Children, I believe. So should be a fun one. Another trial that I like quite a bit and is one of the classics, you could say, in the game. So I will see you at the orphanage. All right, here we are on Feed the Children, and this is, again, I mean, I know I keep saying this and maybe it's getting annoying, but it is fairly straightforward, the objectives on this trial. So for the most part, these are only going to be some small optimizations that you can kind of, where you can maybe look at certain points to find the bleach quicker. But then also for some much newer people who might be watching this, I'll give some very, some tips that may seem obvious to us more experienced players. First one being the spawn pattern of the bottles. Obviously, there's these huge signs that say 2 bottles that way, 2 bottles that way, but it doesn't obviously immediately tell you. There's basically going to be 1 bottle in this section of the map, which is the laundry section, most people call it, and then 1 bottle in that section, which is what most people call the pool section. So it's good to know that. Obviously, once you find 1 bottle in here, you don't have to look around for another one. You can just go to the next section. Oftentimes the bottle will be back here or something like that, but pretty much it can be on any shelf in this area, any shelf, any washing machine. Don't forget to grab yourself some nice evidence. And there we have it right there on that shelf. One place you might not think to check for it is the bathroom. It could be in there as well. That's one of the spots that trips people up sometimes. Obviously, if you don't have limited intel from psychosurgery or anything, the bottles are going to be highlighted for you and much easier to find when you get close. So that's that, and then there's 1 more on the pool side, so that's good to know. And then on this side, there's actually 2 bottles in the chapel area. One's upstairs and one's downstairs. So you never actually have to go outside unless this door is blocked, which I don't think I've ever seen it fully blocked, maybe once or twice, but sometimes it's padlocked, and that's very annoying. So you can go outside. Berserkers out there on higher difficulties, but normally you'll be able to come in here, and the one upstairs is pretty free to get. There's usually 1 grunt up here and maybe a screamer depending on your difficulty, but it can be pretty much anywhere up here, sometimes on the altar, but a lot of the times somewhere in the pews or over here somewhere. But since it's in the dark and you can just stealth around if you need to, usually this one's not too hard to come away with, although I am apparently struggling to find it myself. Okay, there it is. So for some reason this one didn't highlight for me. I guess because it wasn't behind a wall. I don't know. Strange, but yeah, as you can see there it is in the pew next to the child, and the pusher's gonna annoy us, so I will just stun him.
Okay,
and I guess I don't need to actually bring... Oh yeah, I do. I want to finish the trial, but I won't show myself going to the poolside. The basement is probably the hardest bottle, although it can be debated with the poolside one. One thing that I found that's a very small optimization that you might already know, and of course it's just a tiny tip, is to look to the left when you come in here and look like around this, because often it can be on that bench. And before I did that, I was going this way immediately, and I would come around there last, so you can see it quite quickly there. Also, if you're going towards this crawl space, quickly glance left. It can be on that tool bench as well. Could be right here. Could be somewhere in the back. It's usually on one of these benches like that. So yeah, here you go. Here's a bigger bench that it's also on. And one of the sneakier spots it can be as well, just in case you don't know, is inside the closet, which is right over there behind the grunt. So yeah, that's pretty much it for tips on the bottles. Again, it's not the most complicated trial. I will give a small tip on how to do the ending, although it is very obvious generally. Gooseberry does come for you, and it can be a little awkward sometimes, so I'll show you what I do for the ending segment. Alright, so here for the ending, once you've got all the bottles, of course you have to come in here and hit the button. And Gooseberry can come from one of two ways. She can come from over there and through this main door, or she can come through that door. We're going to hit the button, and where I would say is the best place to just hide to avoid her is you just hide behind this pillar right here, and she pretty much won't see you, no matter where she comes from. We will see if she comes through there. You can watch for her to come through there, but I think she more often comes through the side door. Although, oh no, she did come that way this time, but you hide here and then the gate will eventually open and you can go through it. And then you have a few options of what you want to do. You can just run out from the hiding spot whenever the gate opens and then use something like a brick on the person that's right here. However, in this difficulty they won't be there. On higher difficulties there will be a grunt right there and you can use a brick or something on them. Or you can lure Gooseberry into that room as well as the grunt and hit them both with the stun rig or something like that. Yeah, just staying a little stealthy, using that pillar to your advantage typically makes the ending pretty much completely free on this trial. So, we're going to move on to the next trial, which will be Foster the Orphans here on the orphanage with the radios. So I will see you guys at Foster the Orphans. All right. All right, here we are on Foster the Orphans, where you have to complete the radio signals before getting out the front. And this trial, I don't have a whole lot to share, although I will give a tip on just how to solve the radios a little faster. I think I mentioned this in Cleanse the Orphans on the other video, but can't hurt to reiterate. But one of the main things that I see fairly often happening in my games on escalation is people will go this way, and on higher difficulties, a giant will spawn in this section. And although there is a fairly common spawn of a radio in over there or over there, it can be a little bit dangerous to simply run over there and try and YOLO it without like a stun rig or something. But what people seem to not always know is you can actually just go back the way you came once you do this first radio. Once you go back, once you do this first radio, this door will be open, this shutter will open up, and this glass will be breakable. So you can completely avoid going straight over to where that giant spawns and just go out the back way to get working on the radios. For the radios themselves, the most important thing that you line up properly is the amplitude, this first dial. The level needs to be very similar, so usually I just line it up by looking at where one of them touches the red and just line it up like that. The frequency and the phase don't need to be as accurate, so like if I do something like this, you can see it doesn't perfectly line up. Okay, that's too close to being correct. So if I do something like this, it doesn't perfectly line up, but if you align it properly with like this left side of the thing, like this kind of, you can get it to give it to you a little bit easier. Now it might be a little bit too incorrect, but this might work with something like this. Yeah, so you see how it kind of slowly auto-adjusted itself and gave me the success. And for some reason it likes it when you line it up on the left side. The right side wouldn't work in that same regard. So that can help you get a little bit more wiggle room from the radios, which can be beneficial. Like I said, that shutter opens up, but we can go this way if we prefer. All this stuff, as I mentioned, is now open. The only other thing I would say, obviously, is learn the radio spawns. This one that is highlighted for us here is actually one of the ones I was going to mention as one of the ones that's a little bit more easy to miss. It can be inside this room here. And then we have another pretty generous lineup. Other than that, some other ones that can be easy to miss. There can be one right there on the side of the porch or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, there can be one in the kitchen here and in the cafeteria. And then there's usually only one of this cafeteria or kitchen one, or one there, or one over there. So you don't have to come over here actually most of the time if you get this one. I do believe that's not a guarantee, but and then obviously they're just distributed out through the laundry in the pool. There can be one in the bathroom, but that's pretty much it for this trial. Fairly straightforward, and hope that helps you a little bit with your pathing if you'd prefer to avoid immediate conflict in the trial. Next up we have Reunite the Family, one of the newest, I think the newest MK for this map, although we still have Gather the Children of God after that. Reunite the Family is the next trial. I'll see you guys for that one. Okay, so here on Reunite the Family, this being one of the fairly newer MKs, although it's, you know, getting older at this point. There's a few tips I'd like to share with you, although they are, again, rather smaller. Most MK challenges are going to have a bit smaller tips, but there's just these slight improvements that might help you out at a certain point that you need assistance with. First off, right here at the start, especially useful if you're in multiplayer and are someone who doesn't have a microphone or doesn't want to talk, you are able to just, of course, ping these TVs. The keys are not tracked for you in this trial, which is rare. Or maybe even unique to this trial, but you can ping the TVs, so you know you have Moon and Crown, and maybe that'll help you out in remembering them. Additionally, the other thing that I always do on this trial is peek through this window right here. This will show you right away whether there's fuel on this side or the other side. If you see the fuel sign, that means it's on this side of the map. If you don't see it, that means it's on the pool side of the map, and that's something you can call out to your teammates to help them out as well. And then, of course, just how the trial works. For those of you who maybe are very new, you have to go to each side, and there are two panels. There's two electrical panels on each side, and how it works is there's this one wire that leads to this hub little thing, and then there's two wires that split off of that, and each of those two wires will lead to one of these panels. So that is how you can follow the wires if you'd like to do that, or you can just search around for the panels manually, but if you're struggling to find them, then definitely try and follow those wires. And since we of course know that the fuel is over here, we can grab it and then head back to get to the other side. Very small tip and something that's fairly obvious, I would say, but something I didn't do for quite a while is actually dropping the fuel if you get it on the wrong side, or if your team switches the doors on you, or if for whatever reason you come over with the fuel and the shutter door is closed like this, you can just drop the fuel here instead of having to lug it all the way around. Obviously that would take longer. You just leave the fuel there and then run around yourself, switch the doors, and grab the fuel. The only other thing I want to show is at the ending part with the keys and gooseberry, so I will see you guys for that part. Alright, so we're here at the generator, and it is important that you do this quickly after starting the generator, so make sure you're ready to go inside. But basically, you pull the cord and then you go inside here, and before gooseberry comes out, it's very nice to just quickly run around and check all of the bodies. Now, I'm not actually sure if gooseberry is going to come out on this one, but you can check all the ones in the room, and then if you're quick enough, you can get behind this table. I guess she maybe has a delayed spawn on this difficulty, but that is gooseberry. So you can check them all and make note of where your keys are if there's any out there, and then quickly get back here, and if there's one of your keys back here, gooseberry will usually wander out and you can most of the time safely grab it. Sometimes she'll even go as far as to leave the cafeteria entirely, like she's doing now, and that kind of makes it free for you here at the ending. Our other key was over here on the ground. But yeah, just basically using a little bit more stealth for this section, but you have free reign for a little bit before gooseberry comes out, so you can definitely do a pretty quick little circuit to look at all the bodies and see where your keys are. So not the biggest tip, but hopefully, if you were a little bit more afraid and waited before going in, that'll give you more confidence to go in right away at the start and get the information before gooseberry even shows up to get in your way. That's pretty much it for this trial. We only have one more trial left for the orphanage, and that's going to be Gather the Children of God, so I will see you guys for that one. Alright, we are here on Gather the Children of God, and I started it right here at the beginning because most of my tips for this trial are going to be fairly general. First of all, just like Punish the Miscreants, the button and child spawns are fixed to each other, so if a child spawns in a certain place, then the button will always be in the same place every time, and vice versa. So if you start to learn those patterns, you can improve your time quite a bit. I'll point out a few that I definitely use often once I get to them, but another thing that's very nice on this trial and Tilt the Scales of Justice, which we'll get to later, is the crouch jumping tech, which is currently possible in the game, may get patched at some point, I don't know. But if you crouch and you walk and you jump, you will move pretty fast. You can do it very quickly with no item, and you will not make any noise while doing this. So you can use this to pretty much completely negate the annoyance of the sound gates. So definitely consider using that. It is slightly different when you are carrying one of the children. You will have a bit of a delay between your jumps that is noticeable, of course. Also, obviously, this child is always here, but their button can be in a different spot. So that's actually the exception to that rule I mentioned earlier. But as you can see, I'm mashing space, and I can only jump after a short delay. So that is definitely worth noting. And of course, one thing that I could have also mentioned on Punish the Miscreants, if you didn't know, I just remembered from what just happened. If you're carrying a child and they do one of those voice lines, that is able to be heard by enemies. That can get you detected by an enemy. As you can see, the little sound bars show up whenever the child talks. So if you're just hiding somewhere from an enemy, put the child on the ground, because if it talks on the ground, that doesn't matter, and you won't get accidentally noticed by the enemies. So that's an important one to note. The main other thing I would like to tell people about, because it seems that many folks don't know about these, is the structure of this upper area of the orphanage, the dorms, is a little bit different than it is on Cleanse the Orphans, and there's some very useful connecting pathways you can use to get to the other dorms from here. So I pretty much will always come up here now when I'm doing the trial, and then go left, because I often just go to the boys' dorm first when I'm doing it in a team, and sometimes you can even get the button to the girls' dorm on your way. But right here is this big connecting like hallway thing that is not available on Cleanse the Orphans, and you go through here and you're immediately getting seen by Gooseberry. You're immediately in the boys' dorm. So it's very nice to use these shortcuts. One thing you can do in the boys' dorm is check this immediately, because there can be a button right there. That's part of the route that I run. But yeah, now I'm in the boys' dorm and I can begin looking for the child that's here. There's a similar hallway on the other side of the girls' dorm that leads to the infants' dorm. So you don't really need to use the lobby, neither the upper nor lower sections, if you don't want to. So it can be pretty beneficial. This is another one of the button spawns that I know about. So that's one that's right there. Again, those are things that'll come with time. And we're going to go across to the infants' dorm just to mention one specific wire that I like to use often if I come from this direction, which I do sometimes, because often I'll go hit the button for the child downstairs, and then I'll already be near the lobby, so I'll go to these stairs and then go to infants from there. But it can vary. Basically, if you see the wire going in front of the gate here, which you can see happen, basically the button will always be, just turn, go into the bathroom immediately, and the button will be right here. So that's a nice little trick to know, as long as you are obviously paying attention and if you come from the correct direction. The other connecting hallway I was talking about is right here out on the deck. This is the way that leads between the girls and the infants' dorm. So a good idea can be to also, of course, just go straight into the bathroom. If you come from the girls' dorm, you can just jump through that window, or even, you don't even have to make the noise. You can just peek through this window and check if the button is there if you come from the girls' dorm. So yeah, just a little bit of map navigation can go a long way on this trial in terms of speeding it up in particular, because of course this is a bit of a longer trial. If you're doing it in solo, carrying those children around takes a decent amount of time, but using those hallways can help a lot. Learning the button spawns and then using crouch jumping to avoid the sound gates is pretty much what I would say is most beneficial on this trial. Otherwise, we are actually now done with the orphanage, so hopefully these tips helped you guys out with these MK challenges. The next MK challenge we have is going to be the first one for the courthouse, which will be Escape the Courthouse. And I actually have some pretty good tips for that one that I think will help people out if they haven't seen them before. So I will see you guys at the courthouse. Alright, so Escape the Courthouse is a trial that I've done quite a lot of, especially recently, because it was the first trial that was present in the Red Barrel's official Discord weekly Trial Maker Challenge. Speedran it quite a bit, and I have what will hopefully be some good tips for you guys in getting this one done a bit quicker. I did start it right here at the beginning just because I think I have some tips throughout the entire trial pretty much, as far as where the witnesses can be, and where you can hit them from are pretty much the main things I want to give tips about. Now, one thing you definitely want to be looking out for and learn are some brick spawn locations. There can be bricks there, and there can be bricks there. Bricks are very, very good because even without strong arm, if you use a brick, you can hit the witness twice with the zapper. As long as you hit them with the brick, pick it up, and then hit them with it again, you are able to get the second hit on them. Now, there's a couple witness spawns can spawn over there, although that's a ridiculous ping. You know, this is why there's a bug when you jump over the desk, when the enemies jump over the desk. Anyway, right there, and right here, a couple of spawns, and then another spawn is right here in front of us, which is where he was. And then there's another one over there in the corner. So I'll demonstrate what you can do with bricks here. You just hit them with the microwave trigger at first. And the way witnesses work is they'll come to wherever you hit them from for the most part. So I can hit them with a brick once here. And then you want to wait until their animation of getting up is done. And then you hit them again. And you can finish them off for this section to be over. There's also another brick spawn right here. And there's another one right in the crawl space here. And one over there. So those can maybe help you out if you need a brick. If you only hit him once and he gets away, the best place to look can often be right over here. He'll come out of this door and either stand right here or go a little bit further and go here. If you don't find him in the back for whatever reason, he can also be in this room, either like around here or over there. Generally, the first one's pretty easy to get though. Moving on now to the second section, we can head over to the left first. This is generally the order I do them in, although it doesn't really matter. And go in. I'll go through this door, and there's a few spots you want to look for the witness. First one being right there in the window. They can be right there, and you can hit them from here, which is nice. They can also be in this room, although it's a bit more rare. There, we did actually get him in this room. And although I could do the brick again, I am going to hit him and let him go somewhere else, just to see if we can demonstrate one of his other locations. Actually, we'll give the brick to this guy. Why not? One thing that can be very beneficial is just listening for when you know the witness went away. They will always be coming back out pretty much immediately, so you can listen for where the alarm door is going off, and that will help you out. Alright, this guy's being incredibly annoying. One of the spawns of the witness is within this room, and even if you don't have the smash amp, that's actually a pretty nice spawn for you, as we will show in a second once this guy stops being incredibly annoying. Maybe I should have turned off the don't make noise variator for this one, given what we're trying to do here. You can actually look through this door and hit the witness from over there. And this can be particularly useful because sometimes the witness will just try and run all the way around to you and you can get 2 free hits on him. But this can be very helpful to avoid having to go all the way around if you don't have access to smash. The witness can also spawn right here and can go inside that room over there. And very, very rarely he can be in the long room that we came in at the start of the trial, which is right here. He can be in the middle of the things there. Moving over now to the library side, there's a lot of witness spawns over here. This is the side I typically use my stun rig for, although we don't have it currently, just because it can be annoying to be in the light and hunt him down. If you're really lucky, the witness will spawn right here, and you can maybe get him very fast. You can also spawn right there, and in this room, which you can also look through the door and zap him. He can spawn in that corner right there, or sometimes in the other corner, but that's been very rare for me. But that can be a nice way to potentially get him without having to navigate further in. The spawn you'll probably get most often, though, is the one right over here, inside of this little enclosure. But for whatever reason, he ends up being in here quite a bit. And usually I will just hit him twice in here with the stun rig, but you can just do it once to give him a tap. So if you only are able to hit him once, you can hit him there, and then generally just run back this route. And you'll most likely find him pretty quickly. So as you can see, he's coming out right there, and he might even walk to this spot right here. Yeah, so that is a pretty easy way to find this guy after he's gone away from that spot. But generally, the library side, I would recommend using your stun rig to get the double hit, because it can be annoying. And lastly, this is probably the coolest tip on the trial, the most important one to know if you want to go really fast, and that's that the third section witness here, the one that's going to be at the end of the trial, spawns off of the same gate every time. So we're going to run now straight to that gate. You go through the sound things, you turn left, and you go into this room, and the witness will come out of that door right there every single time. So what you can actually do is run in here and lock this door, and then he'll try to go through it, and he usually gets stuck in this bashing animation. That can often happen. Didn't happen in this case, but especially if that is a planked door, he will often get stuck in that bashing animation, and you'll be able to hit him a second time, and then if you have a brick, you can even finish him off right there. Or if I had 2 bricks, I could have just finished him off right there. So that is very, very nice to know. You don't need the tracker, you don't need to go hunting for the witness. He will always spawn from that gate. Another thing that can be pretty helpful, which I didn't do in time, is if you stand here after hitting him, he'll almost always, or I think always, go to the other side of the map right here. And you can see the door to the back room from here. And if it's closed, you'll see it open, and that means the witness went to that back room, which is somewhere he likes to go. So yeah, he probably did go back there because there is a door on it. But he can also be in here, right there, or he can be in this room, in the back of it over there. There's also a chance that he's in this side room right here, although I haven't seen him go in here too much these days, but he might be right there. But yeah, a lot of the time he will come back to this spot. And another beneficial thing you can do in this spot, if he didn't bash the lock to get in here, you can lock the door. And now he's stuck in here with you, and I can finish him off easy peasy. So just make sure to move so he doesn't hit you, and then he'll try to leave, but it won't be quick enough, and you can finish him off. So yeah, and then the ending is just basically running out. Coil's going to be there, at least on high difficulties. He'll probably be there on low difficulty too, but you can get past him with like 1 throwable and then make it to the end. So you don't need to worry about him too much. And yeah, so I kind of did a full run through of this trial. This is the kind of thing that I could do a video for every trial. Okay, that is my fault. Too late, but it is what it is. I could do something like this for every trial if people would like to see that, but this trial I felt would benefit from it most since I think I have a lot of good knowledge of this trial, and I know people struggle with the witnesses sometimes. Next up, we do have, let me just check my list here, Fuel the Release. So I will see you guys for that trial up next. Alright, here on Destroy the Evidence, actually, my apologies, I thought Fuel the Release was next, but I misread my own list. Destroy the Evidence here, we do have quite a few tips, several of them definitely focused around map traversal, which is one of the main challenges of this trial. But of course, one of the first ones that's very easy to notice as long as you've done the trial a few times, the acid spawns are obviously fixed. You'll get this first one here, and then there will be one in this specific room every time, and one in the center of the library every time. So it's easy to know where you need to get to, not so easy sometimes to get there. I always take the acid at the start up the right-hand side, because this side you can always guarantee a full pathway up to the courtroom as long as you go through these 2 doors and then just continue basically straight ahead through all of these doors. And then there's going to be a crawl space involved as well, but there's another door straight ahead here. And then a crawl space if you need it, because there's, depending on the current rotation, this gate could be closed or not. Currently it is open, so we can go through there. One thing that might help to know as well is that the gates do switch every 2 minutes. That is the timing on the gates. And yeah, the other main thing that I wanted to talk about is the rotation of the gates and how you can get into the courtroom. So just knowing the fixed acid spawns, gates rotate every 2 minutes. There's a way to get all the way up on the right-hand side is nice to know. But the most important thing that I've only learned fairly recently is that the gates do follow a set rotation. And I'm not exactly sure how all of the gates incorporate into the rotation, but the main important part to know about is which rotations there are that allow you into the courtroom. So this is one of the easier rotations. That gate will be open, and so too will the main gate. If this gate is open, so will the main gate. The main gate will also be open. After this, it goes in a rotation. There's 3 different rotations, by the way. After this, it will be the library side rotation, meaning that this gate right here will be open, and then that door takes you into the courtroom. So this will be the way in if it's the library side. And then there's the evidence side, which will mean that this gate right here will be open. This gate will be closed, but that gate right through there will be open, and so will the gate that leads you into the courtroom with the, then you can go through the crawl space in there. And then after that, another 2 minutes will pass, of course, and then this rotation that we have right now will reoccur. So there's 3 rotations of the gates, and based on the status of things, you can know what will happen. So as you can see, this gate's going to close, and that gate opens up. So now the library side is the current rotation. And if we do go back around here, you will see, of course, this gate's closed, and so is this gate. But if we were to wait around for 2 minutes, which I'm not going to do, this gate would open, and so would this gate. And you can obviously, again, always get through the right side to that gate by taking that door, and then there's a crawl space between these 2 rooms that lets you skip that gate. So that can be very beneficial to know, of course, because a lot of the time the issue is that you can't get through to the courtroom with your acid. So hopefully that helps you guys out. All the other gates are similar. They would all follow the rotation in some way, so you can completely learn which gates are open on the entire map if you're crazy. I haven't done that, but that's a very nice tip for this trial. I hope it helps you out. This is one of the more annoying trials, especially if you don't know how to traverse the map well. So I hope those little tips will make it a bit easier for you. Next up, we do have Fuel the Release. I swear, this time it's for real. So I will see you guys at that trial. Oh, actually, one more thing. I forgot to mention because I didn't remember to take it. I was going to switch to the jammer in the shuttle, but I realized I relapsed recently and I don't have the jammer. Jammer is obviously very, very good for this trial. That's the only other thing I wanted to say. At any time, you can open a gate that is closed and go through it with the jammer. So just know that the jammer can help you out if you are struggling with the rotations or just want to maybe speed things up at a certain point. All right, see you at Fuel the Release. Okay, Fuel the Release is a trial which I think also deserves kind of a full run through. There may be parts that I skip, but possibly not. Partially for this at the start. Take. Don't forget to take, everybody. But yeah, the shining star of the beginning of this trial is the Smash Amp in solo. Obviously, you don't need it if you're in a group, but you can essentially skip the entire first part of this trial by just smashing through this co-op door right here. You don't have to go back through the back halls area at all, and you can just smash through it. I'm pretty sure this is always blocked, so you can never get like a super short path, but it's not that bad to get all the way over to there. But Smash will just save you some time, and you can immediately, obviously, fuel the generator and get yourself to the second section. And of course, at the second section, there is a 50-50 chance which way you'll have to go. You'll either get to go to the left side to the evidence area or to the right side and the library, and then you'll go the other way after completing the courtyard generator. So let's see which one we got here. We got the evidence area, and it's at this part of the trial where it becomes pretty important to learn where you can go, because you really don't have to go very far into these areas to get through the section. So I'll show you here what you can very easily do on this part. You just go through here, the only door, and then you go through this door, and then you go through this door, and you're already out, and you can just go all the way around it into the courtyard. If for whatever reason this door is blocked, you can just come to the other side of this room, go through this door, and then there's this door as well, which also leads out. Surely one of those two will be open. Otherwise, you will have to go around quite a bit more. I don't know if I've ever had that happen, but it's very easy. You don't have to even go into like more than 1 or 2 rooms of the area, and you will be out. And now the more interesting part of this is how the library side works after you do this generator. You actually can kind of backtrack to get to the middle easier, and it's rather unintuitive. So if you don't know about it, you probably wouldn't have done it before. And let's go ahead and start this generator up, and I'll show you what I mean. This helps a lot for speed, but also you don't have to be in the brightly lit up library. So what you can do is pick up the fuel and then go back through the courtyard, take a right here, and this door is available. And that door leads directly into this room where this door is available, and then you're already at the lobby. So you don't even have to go through the lit up library at all. If needed, you can go through here and through the crawl space, and there's a door. But that's it. That's like a super easy shortcut. And you can even do this if you get the library side first. You can just I guess maybe I can still show the way you can go to if you get the library side first. Let's see if that works still. So if you get the library side first, you're going to have the fuel obviously back there at the exit to the courtroom. And this is the route you'd want to run for that. Basically, you would get the fuel, you know, over there or whatever, wherever it is. Come this way, enter the library, and then just basically take a left and then another left, and then you're at this door. And then that door will usually be open, and you can just go out through there. If it's not open, then this door will almost certainly be open. Sometimes this gate is even open, so you can just quickly get through the library there. And then you start the generator, you go grab the fuel from over there, and then once again you run through this door. So you can always go through this door to very quickly and very easily get straight to the lobby, and everything will open up. If you do have the evidence side as your second one, this gate will be closed, but once you get close enough to it, it will open up. So yeah, very, very nice little strategy there to get through fuel to release much more quickly. And yeah, this can be a very fast trial as long as you follow those routes. Particularly that little skip through that room right there is most definitely very useful, and I didn't know about that until I started grinding escalation, so I would absolutely recommend you do that one. Next up, we have the final trial of the courthouse, which is Tilt the Scales of Justice, so I'll see you guys there. Okay, so here we are on Tilt the Scales of Justice, and the first tip I want to give is actually for groups mostly, because you can't really take advantage of this on solo, although it's something that is nice to know in case you don't look at the map when you get to the courtroom. But basically, the room on the far end of this side of the courthouse, which is the blue side per se, because the map it's blue on the map. The far side room there, the big one, is very, very commonly one of the rooms with an evidence in it. It sometimes isn't, but very often it is. So you can have one person obviously take the tutorial evidence, bring it to Lady Justice, but have one person just go over here, and you know, you could also go around that way and wait at that door, or you can go this way and to this door. But whichever way you want to do it, have them just wait here, and then whenever the person drops off the evidence, these doors will be accessible, and they can quickly get started on that one. Now, of course, sometimes it won't be there, but it's a nice way to speed things up if you are in a group. Of course, similar to Gather the Children of God, this trial also features the sound gates, so the crouch jumping can be very beneficial. That is when you just crouch and you jump. If you have an item, there's a bit of a delay between jumps, but you make no noise doing this and move much quicker than just crouching. And obviously, due to the fact that there's no noise, you will not trigger those gates. The last tip I have for this trial, because it is honestly at the end of the day fairly straightforward, although looking for the numbers can be difficult. I don't really have a specific trick to do so. Just make sure you look around the entire room, and like in each section you're in, look up and down. Don't like look up while moving and then end up at another section before you look down, because then you might miss something on the floor when you were looking up. Hope that makes some sense. But it's basically yet another good use for the Smash Amp, which is on this map. So we can throw this in here, and let's check. See, as you can see on the map, we did get that spawn of that room. It is very, very common. It'll be quite rare for you to not get it. I will definitely say that. But what you can do is right here, right when you come into these areas, you can smash the co-op door right there, and that allows you to skip having to take a longer route around. This is a barred door that you can very shortly after open up if needed. But this side, it's not as bad because you can normally go through this room, and then once you go through that door, you're already on the other side of the co-op door. But for this side, it's not as easy because the barred door is actually present right there. Barred door is right there. And sometimes even this door will be closed, and you'll have to go around through this room, which can be annoying. There can be a screamer depending on the difficulty level. Then you have to go all the way through the mayor's office and everything to get to the other side. Where instead, if you have Smash or got a teammate, just smash this open and you're right into the main hallway. Nice and easy. I guess one more tip that I would have, just in case to keep yourself more safe, is You pretty much never need to go out into the lit up area in this map where coil will often be. There's no reason for you to go out there and get spotted when you're carrying the evidence or when you're heading towards one of the evidence rooms. It is likely a bit faster to get to the evidence rooms by going through here if you're trying to absolutely speedrun, but you're much better off going through these dark areas to get there and being a lot more safe from coil. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this trial. It's again not the most difficult one in terms of little tricks, but definitely try and work on your ability at finding those numbers, as it can be difficult. And of course, if you have to, if it comes down to it, you can guess the last number, and you will only lose, I think it's 10 seconds on your box. So it is possible to just guess if you really can't find one of the numbers. Anyway, that's it for the Courthouse. Next up, we're going to be heading to the Toy Factory for Crush the Toys, which is honestly a trial that I've grown to enjoy more as I've done it. So hopefully I can help you guys get to that point as well. I'll see you guys there. Alright, so Crush the Toys is an interesting trial because if you don't really strategize well when you're doing it in solo, or play it smartly, you can really struggle. But as I did it more, I developed what I like to call, although it's kind of obvious, especially when you talk about it, but when you're playing the trial, it definitely makes sense as well. I call it the ping-pong approach, basically. And what you do is you just bounce back and forth between the sides, depending on if Gooseberry's on one side, you go to the other. It's pretty much just that simple, but it can be very easy for you to get focused or obsessed, with getting one box through or getting it when it's coming through the conveyor, like immediately. That's not a good idea most of the time. So I would definitely recommend you take this approach, and particularly when you first start. Let me start this generator up. But that's the reason I started recording here. So when you first start the trial, I hope it happens on less enemies. I should probably change the variators, but Gooseberry will spawn on one side, either from that door or this door over there. And maybe she's just going to spawn delayed, like on Reunite the Family. But either way, what I will do is I'll wait here until I hear the alarm door, and if it's going off there, I will go to B and do B immediately. If it's going off in B, I will immediately run to D. So let's say it's going off in B, since it seems like it's not going to happen, but you get the idea. At any reasonable higher difficulty, that will be what happens. So then you just start the generator, and Gooseberry will be still on the other side. You have more than enough time to quickly get your box, and you're good to go. Is that her finally coming out? I'm not sure, but then, yeah, that's it. That's basically just that easy. And then she will often come over to this side. Like, she might even hear the last bit of generator that you cause, and you can maybe sneak past her, or you'll see her at some point where you can avoid her, and then you just go through to B and do B while she's looking around in D. And that's pretty much it. That's the entire strategy. Just don't get stuck in one section just trying to do it. Obviously we have don't make noise, so we can just she'll just walk past us, but it can be good to just hide for a moment and maybe go back down the hall slightly, wait for her to go. Like, you can stand like over here, hide in this little crawl space, and see her leave, and then go to B, however safely you want to play it. But basically just staying away from Gooseberry is the golden ticket in this trial. So we have B870, and it's good to just get it started with that, noticing the door side that she's coming out of and utilizing that to your advantage. So yeah, B870 is what we're looking for. We can start it. And see, you heard the noise. That means that she did hear the generator, and she's going to be going over there. But we already have our box. So now she's going to go over to the generator. And unfortunately, we do have this shutter door closed, so we can't just sneak out and drop the box. But still, even if we didn't have don't make noise, she still would have gone over there, and we could have hidden in the B room. Also, you can ping the boxes after you put them down, especially helpful in multiplayer if your teammates don't know which ones are on the conveyor. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I've said this numerous times, but again, like, it's fairly straightforward, the trial. There's not a whole lot of tricks you can really have. You used to be able to just pick up random boxes and they wouldn't damage you if you dropped them quick enough. That's no longer possible. You used to be able to jump backwards through the doors that prevent you from going between areas. That's no longer possible. So there's not really any sneaky tricks you can really do anymore to complete the trial more easily. I would say if you do struggle with knowing which box is yours that you put on the conveyor, that's maybe a good thing to mention. First of all, obviously, on the conveyor there are test boxes with the T number on them that will hurt you or give you psychosis gas if you pick them up. And actually, recently, I think in Season 3, they've made it so that these numbers get highlighted by a black light when they're like almost here. So it's a lot easier to avoid picking them up. But if they patch that, or if it, whatever, what you can do is, like I did here, pair your box up with one of the test boxes. And usually, as you could see while it was on the belt there, it's slightly askew. The ones that are on the belt are perfectly squarely on the belt, and they're not tilted at all. The ones you put on will generally be tilted a little bit, or you can just remember that I put mine behind one of the test boxes, and then you'll know when the pair comes up, yours is behind. So that's a nice tip, especially if they revert this change. I don't know if it's a bug or a deliberate change, but where you're able to basically just see the numbers as they're coming up, and then you have basically, it's just free. You can just like grab your box because you see it coming. So, but that's about it for this trial. The ending, I mean, there's nothing special with that, and yeah, hopefully these little tips maybe helped you guys out. But we're gonna move on now to Incinerate the Toys, which is a pretty fun trial. I quite enjoyed that one, so I'll see you guys there. Okay, so here at Incinerate the Toys, this is one of the interesting trials that you can get 2 different spawn locations for, actually. So you can get here, which I guess is the front of the factory, and or is it the back? Because it's like the loading dock, whatever. You get one on either side of the factory, so you can get this one or the other one, and in the other one, the cart to push will be like right over there. So that's pretty cool. And then if you're in a team, I think in a group of 3, 2 people spawn on one side and then only 1 person on the other, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't really play in groups of 3. But I know if you're in a 4-man team, you have 2 people on each side. So it's a pretty cool trial in that regard, and there's different things to learn about each side. So yeah, we're gonna go through a couple of things here, but it's a fairly simple trial. All you got to do is push the cart the whole way, and there's 2 keys you have to get along the way. And so basically the one thing that I would say is very beneficial to do just to slightly speed up your times occasionally is because a lot of the time this cart's loud. You're going to be attracting attention when you're pushing it through, especially the main section here. Of course, you can look at the sign to find the key, but you don't need to look at the sign to find the key, obviously. So if you run into trouble in the basement section and you need to run into a different, most of the rooms, like while you're pushing the cart, the whole area is lit up. But the rooms that are attached all over the place, like the bathroom here on my left, or any of them really, are dark. So you can dip into those if you get into a sticky situation with an X-Pop or, Gooseberry. And just what I would say is, and it is fairly obvious, especially once you say it out loud, but hey, we're just trying to give those little tips to people. Look for the key while you're in that room. I mean, you're not really going to be doing anything else unless the person was right on your tail and you need to run somewhere and hide. Just look for the key while you're hiding, and it'll be potentially the room that you need to find the key in, and you can save some time having to go here. Now, obviously, I have these variators on, so this was pretty much free, and then we can see the keys in the electrical room. Obviously helps if you know where, which room is where. Each room does have a big sign on it, which is what the room is. The electrical room is right here. But yeah, I find myself hiding in this room a lot, to be honest, when I'm actually doing this trial. So if I looked around and found the key here early, that would have been beneficial to my team, or at least to myself if I'm doing it in solo, not having to push it all the way, or somehow traverse to this spot and then find the sign and then go to the room and then come back with the key. So it can save a decent amount of time here. The only other thing I want to say for potential secondary objectives, and if you're in a team, you probably already know this if you've done this in teams, but if you've only done it solo, you might not. If you get like the broadcast or the radio, then you can actually get to the other side of the factory. There's a barred door either here or here if you get this side, and you can just come over, open the barred door and go through it, and now you're on the other side of the factory. I've known this for a while, but I didn't know it for a probably embarrassingly long amount of time after I first did this trial, or after this trial first came out. never really found that out until quite a while after the release of it. So you can get to the other side, and you can even get back to the spawn area of what would be the other team. There will be another barred door that will lead you through to there. If they're really struggling, you can go help them out, and that is where the other cart will spawn. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple tips for this one, but hopefully they helped you out. Maybe you didn't know you could get through to the other side, although I'm sure most of you did. But yeah, this trial, pretty fun, pretty hectic sometimes, but hopefully you can, speed it up just a small amount by looking for that key and stuff like that. But yeah, if you have any tips for this one, like all of them, then just let me know in the comments. But this one in particular, and a few of them that I've found have had a little bit less to say about, might be good to share some of your thoughts on as well in the comments. Anyways, next up we have Shutdown the Factory, which has one nice little tip that hopefully will help you guys out, and then a few of smaller things that might be more well known. But I'll see you guys for Shutdown the Factory. Alright, we're here on Shutdown the Factory now, and this one actually has a couple of nice tips. First one right here at the beginning. First of all, watch out for the crackheads here, but in the most recent patch, they updated the game so that if you are opening a garage door and someone on the other side hears it, which they can now do, they will come over and potentially pull you out from underneath the garage door. And that's not good. You'll end up getting damaged and stuff, and things are bad in that regard. Now, usually in a team, you would want to just and I'm actually going to go and trigger the alarm door. I'm not sure if there is someone around here, so maybe I can get them to come out with this. But in a team, you usually just lift it, and then if someone gets grabbed, you can just kick the enemy who grabbed them. But in solo, obviously that's not an option. So what you can do in solo is if you are lifting it and you hear the gong noise, meaning someone saw you, usually they will not be, right next to the door and then stand there and wait for you to pull you under. I'm trying to be able to demonstrate it, but it is proving difficult. But basically what you do is you lift the whole thing and then you back up immediately, and then they will go to where you were lifting it, and actually you'll see an animation of them reaching under and trying to grab you. So let's see if he does it here. Yep, so there it is. There's the animation, and while they're doing that, you basically just sneak by and actually get inside. And it'll work the same way without don't make noise on. So that's a pretty nice little trick to avoid getting grabbed in solo. Just make sure you move right after you finish opening it. As long as they weren't camping there waiting for you, you'll be all good. Now the second tip I have is specifically for Sector A here, and we did get it. If you see a wire that goes to the downstairs area of Sector A, there's only one place that can actually have a panel to shut down, and it's right inside of this room here. Now, the wire can go a couple of different directions and end up, taking different routes, but it will always end up right here at this location. This is the only place you can get a downstairs terminal for Sector A. So that's a nice little thing to know. If you ever see a wire going off to A, it can only be there. And that's pretty much the only way of of guaranteeing one spot. There's no other situation like that in any other section really that ever occurs, so that's important to know. One of the only few things I have left is just the strategy for doing this trial. Normally, what I would recommend you do in terms of just to do the most technically more efficient pathing and avoid having to worry about stuff too much is most of the time I just start by going straight upstairs, and then I go across and do every single sector's upstairs code. So I'll go through each sector, I like crouched and then uncrouched. I go through every sector looking for the wires that lead upstairs and complete their panels. We see this one here, so there's one in that room that we could do for C. And then for B, you do have to check actually the back room here. B obviously has this wire that we can find, goes to right there, but there could also be one in here and the wire would come from that direction. So you can check there and then go to A and do the same thing. It's just rinse, repeat, do them all. all on upstairs, and then you go through and do the downstairs ones and then close them down in order. So then I would go downstairs after completing the upstairs of A and everything else, go down, do the downstairs one in A, hit the button, etc. So that can be a nice, more efficient way since you do all the ones upstairs and then you just go downstairs, do all the panels, and hit the buttons on your way out. That's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple trial overall. In solo, I would generally, unless you're going for a real speedrun, recommend you do just take the garage doors, as the alarm door enemies do not despawn in this trial. As far as I know, it's pretty unique in that way. The alarm door enemies, and I think every other trial that has them, they do despawn. Although now that I'm saying that, I can't seem to find my friend that I spawned in to demonstrate the garage thing, but either way, they are around for a long time, and it will potentially cause you trouble. So I'd recommend avoiding using those if possible. Not sure if that was him who heard me, but either way, that's pretty much it for Shutdown the Factory. It's pretty simple. That little tip about Sector A is kind of nice to know, and yeah. Oh no, he's still here. Okay, so yeah, they do seem to stay indefinitely. Anyways, I am going to move on to the next trial for the tips, and that's going to be Empty the Vault, so we're headed to the docks. Alright, I'll catch you guys there. Okay, we're here on Empty the Vault, and this one has a few nice tips that I think will serve pretty well. The first one is here for ChemCo, and ChemCo is usually the first place you'll come, and it, I think the symbols are always the same now, or do some of, I think maybe the train depot can sometimes be different. Train depot can be the spiral or the star, but the triangle with and the skull are always in these two, I think. ChemCo is definitely always the skull. Anyways, when looking for the skull, one thing you can do, because there's these windows throughout the entirety of this area, and there's several spots down in this area that have part of the skull. So we can see it in this case, so it's a good example, but you could also see it over there on that wall, or maybe on these barrels, a few different places. Definitely a good place to look right when you come in here to see if you can skip having to search around. And most of the time, to be honest, I don't even look in this area over here. I'm pretty sure the skull can't even be anywhere in this back hall. The worst spawn you can get in most cases is in here, and it's like lined up like here somewhere or something. So most of the time I just run straight through to this, like I run through that hallway and into here. I got a padlocked door, but can be one right here and stuff. But yeah, it's nice to look through that window to see that there is one down here or not. And now this is a very obvious thing that I'm sure everybody knows, but the decoder will start flipping like this when you are close to one of the lineup spots that you need to do. So that's always good to keep it, keep the decoder out while you're doing this trial. And you can also let go of it early. Whenever the second number is done flipping, you can let go. Let me just write this down. The only other thing for finding the codes, aside from obviously looking out for the yellow, is that, of course, in the train depot, you might not know this, but if you've done the trial a few times, you probably do. The bottom area is pretty sparse anyways, but there is no chance of the code spawning down on the bottom part. You might be able to see part of the alignment right here, or maybe it's down there, I don't know, but you'd end up having to line it up from up there. But there's no use searching for the alignment down on the bottom floor. In the train depot, the alignment is only ever upstairs, and I find this right here to be a decently common spot that you can get it on. So we got the spiral. Oh, I let go slightly too early, but 1, 2, and then let go 0, 7, 9. The only last little tip, and it's probably again one that most people might know, but it's at the end of the trial. So I'm gonna go find the one in the the shipping yard, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here at the end, of course, you need to hit the button and get the box and go out. Just as again, it's pretty clear to most people who've done this trial a lot, but maybe some beginners don't realize and they try to go back down the stairs. You are going to want to go to this window to get out, pretty much is the main thing. Franco's going to come out of there. Now, he might be slow or not come out in time on this, but if you have like a bottle or something, you can distract him, make him, throw a bottle into the corner, or just hit him with the stun rig. Franco will come out of there, though, on the higher difficulties. But you basically just want to grab the box and then run for the window. He is actually coming out in a timely fashion, so I would have maybe thrown my stun rig or thrown a bottle over there to distract him. And then you just, if you walk off like that, you won't take damage. If you jump, you will. Or even if you land right down here, you will take damage. But usually with Franco coming out of there, you can easily give the guy the box and hit the button before he even makes it down here. So it makes the ending of the trial quite a bit better. I know on my first few times doing this trial, I tried to run back down with it, and definitely was not the best idea. So definitely use that as your ending. Oh, hi Franco. The next trial we're going to move on to is Poison the Cattle. So I'll see you guys for that one. Okay, so Poison the Cattle, we're going to jump right into here. This is a trial I used to dislike quite a bit, and I still find it a little bit annoying in solo just because of the 3 bottles that you have to bring back. And I'm just not a huge fan of the poison gas area mechanic, no matter how you slice it or what ends up happening. But I've definitely learned a few things that I will hopefully be able to share with you here that helped me out quite a bit in getting better at this trial and getting it done more easily. So the first thing is I do not have the jammer because I don't really use this option, but you do have the option of going up the stairs here immediately if you have the jammer rig and using it on this this door right here. You can use the jammer on this door to get straight into the poison gas area. I thought that was really good before because I used to be slightly stupid and run all the way around when I was first doing this trial, but it's not really necessary, and stun can be a lot more helpful for dealing with Franco. Feel free to bring the jammer and use that shortcut if you want, but it's not a huge shortcut because normally now what I do instead is I'll just run up this trainway, and then this door right here leads directly to this bridge, and that right there is where you would have opened the door. So if anything, it's the same amount of time given you have to spend the time opening the door and going up the stairs and whatnot. And in my opinion, the route you're able to run inside of ChemCo from coming into it from down here is preferable. And this door can be blocked or padlocked, but even still, you have this train that's open, and then you can just come out right here. I don't know if this can be closed, but if so, then, you know, if those are both closed, that's pretty unlucky, and you'll have to go around pretty far if you don't have the jammer, but usually that doesn't happen. And then when we get here, we can come inside. You want to always check this bottom floor for a canister. It can have one and often does. And we're gonna head upstairs with it because what I will definitely still do is utilize the lever door to bring the canisters back, mostly because there's a good way of setting up my ending from there. I do have a specific, I guess you'd call it, strategy that I use at the ending of the trial where you're looking to pour the poison. And I definitely would say that it's not the fastest strategy, but it is definitely more focused on staying safe and not getting hit by Franco. Additionally, the trick I showed in Poison the Medicine can occasionally be beneficial at this part of the trial, because if you end up running down this hallway and getting cornered by one of the X-Pops that roams this area, especially on higher difficulties, can be a little bit sticky. While you're running down this hallway, if you simply turn and look and click the mouse button to jump out the window, or, you know, hit whatever button it is to interact on Xbox, or, you know, whatever, you know, console, you will be able to jump out the window and not take damage. Now, that's a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card, since once the glass is gone, that will no longer work, and you will take damage if you jump out of the window manually with the jump button. So that's something that's also good to know. Again, that little strange little quirk of the game where you are able to utilize the interaction button instead to not take damage when jumping out of something. But yeah, there's usually one. You know, you can normally find canisters in sort of sections. There's not always one in every section, but since I found the one that was like up there on the table, there's probably not going to be one in this room, things like that. And yeah, so we've got the 3 canisters with us now, and of course we can pull the lever to let us through and start working on the ending, where I do want to just show. I'll only show it for 1 canister. We're not going to complete the entire trial, although it's been fairly quick so far. I hope the advice I've given up to this point has been useful, but you can pull the lever on this thing, and then you do want to obviously move all of the canisters through before it closes, and then lose your poison here, and then we'll just bring the 1 canister. You do have to be careful because Franco can be on this bridge area, and like I'm just gonna get rid of that. Although that's going to be a little annoying with getting Franco. So normally what I'll do, although Franco can be like in this area, is usually not when you first come out here. If he is, you want to just hide and wait. Screw this screamer. I'll move all of the poison canisters down to that spot or similar, and then we'll wait for him to leave, because he's normally patrolling around where you're pouring the stuff, right? What I'll do is I'll have my 3 canisters right here, and then I will sit in this corner and basically wait. It can be beneficial if you have bottles, because then if you even hear, you basically want to just listen for Franco. He breathes pretty loud, and then if he goes here or here, you know, you can throw a bottle like over there to distract him for quite a while. However, he will also often come up the stairs directly and go across this bridge, and he won't see you if you're sitting in this corner. So that's the strategy that I like to use to avoid Franco during this ending part. It is definitely slow and a bit finicky, you know, depends on Franco to actually go places, but we can hear him right now. He's over there. Oh, he's right under me actually right now. So it's, there he is. So like if I had a bottle, I could throw it over there, but I don't. He's going this way now. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. I mean, he might take a little bit of time to actually do what you want, but if you're going for an A+ on this trial, I would definitely recommend this strategy, unless you're able to just spam your rig to get these bottles done, because this whole place is lit up. I mean, it's very easy for him to randomly see you from far away and shoot you. I would like to show it working once. Obviously, if I had a bottle, that would have worked. You do hear him. He's going this way. And there he is right there. So usually it would be good to throw a bottle down to where he is, because he might actually turn around from that point and directly come back. Yeah, he is going to do that. But you get the idea. I mean, if he goes past you up the stairs, like I said he could, that will lead to him being gone for more than long enough for you to get a bottle poured. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the gist of that strategy, and as far as I've seen, it is very consistent, and I've not had any trouble getting A+ or, you know, taking no damage from Franco on this trial using that. So hopefully that helps you out if you're struggling with this trial. And yeah, I've started to hate it a little bit less after learning more about how best to do things. So yeah, next up we're going to be moving on to one of my new favorite trials, which is Stash the Contraband. So I will see you guys at that one. Okay, here on Stash the Contraband, I just have a few tips for this one. To be honest, it's not that complicated of a trial once you learn it. I think that it's one of my, you know, it's one of the more rewarding trials to learn spawns of, because the main thing I would say is there's not that many spawns of barrels. So like here in the train depot, there's 3 barrels you need to get. This one, which is always here, and then upstairs there are 2 more, and there's only 4 spawns for barrels upstairs. So once you learn where the 4 barrel spawns are, you're gonna have no problem getting those done for the objective. Now, the one big tip I would have for the train depot barrels in particular, and I think we actually have to go collect some packets before we can actually go up there, is to actually utilize the alarm doors. Now, there are a lot of alarm doors on this map. I know a big gripe of people for this trial are the mannequin doors and them taking too long, but the alarm doors are the workaround for that. They're the trade-off. If you don't care about the enemy spawning, then you get to go a little bit quicker. And I think they're particularly good to use here in the train depot, because the mannequins that you need to deal with to get through here are most annoying in my opinion. So, and also the enemy generally stays more around that area, and you can go all the way in here. I mean, both sides of the train depot upstairs here are gonna have this long hall area where the enemy will originally spawn in. You can get pretty far away from where they spawn in, and then this is one of the barrel locations, and then you can, you know, do your business. There's another barrel location there, so we actually got both barrels on the other side. But yeah, so you get my point, I think, in that. in that case, that's, in my opinion, very worth it to use the alarm doors. Also, of course, worth mentioning is that the jammer can be very useful on this trial once again, since you can use it to, say, jam this gate, or any of the mannequin doors can be, of course, jammed by the jammer. If I were to point out a single gate that I would use the jammer on, it would be the one on the far right of the casino here, because as long as this is open, you don't really need to worry too much about other stuff in terms of like the mannequin gates or anything like that, since you can go through here and get to all the downstairs casino barrels and then go up the stairs to get to the upstairs casino barrels. And then once you're upstairs in the casino, you can obviously jump out. We can go in here just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So, I can look over here, could be a barrel there. And then, if I had come in from the door, I would have already checked it, but could be a barrel there by the window. Since I didn't get any of those, I would just immediately go up the stairs here and then look around upstairs. There's another 4 different spots that barrels can be up here, one there, one in that room, and one in that room, and then one in the vault here, which is one of the ones we got. And then depending on what you want to do, you can use one of the alarm doors that lead into ChemCo, or that gate might be open. But either way, if you don't want to do any of that, you can just come back down out of the window and go through ChemCo to get through, or go through the door to get to ChemCo. And yeah, so you don't really have to worry too much about the mannequin doors generally, and you can mostly avoid them in most places. And then in the train depot, I would suggest you use the alarm doors. This is what I like to call the cringe room, where this mannequin moves really slow and there's only one, and he's the only one who lets you in and out of this room. This is the worst room for the mannequins in this trial, in my opinion. But the other doors are not too much of a big deal. Now finally, although there's not a lot of barrel spawns, the last tip I would have is that you can know that there's a barrel nearby if you see these blue barrels. So you see this blue barrel, you know that barrel is going to be there because, oh, we got rid of the pouncer. That's kind of a good, that's like the indicator, because if that yellow barrel wasn't there, then the blue barrel wouldn't be there either. It's very interesting that they combine them in that way. You can see another one over here. There's that blue barrel combined with the yellow barrel. So that's something you can look out for, especially if you're someone who doesn't know all the barrel locations. Looking out for a blue barrel can help indicate to you that there is a nearby yellow one. I think there'll even be a blue barrel in one of these corners if this yellow barrel is here, which is a bit of a stranger one. So that's pretty much it for Stash the Contraband. I hope these tips helped you guys out. I really like this trial. I really enjoy running through it and finding those barrels and stashing the contraband up in them. Definitely would recommend to learn the locations, but even if you don't know them, hopefully these tips will help you out in getting to that point. So yeah, next up we actually have one of the new MK challenges, which is Cook the Informant, also taking place on the docks here. So we will head in for that one. Okay, so Cook the Informant, one of, like I said, the brand new MK challenges that came out with Season 3, and unfortunately one that is still not in escalation as of the making of this video, and as a result I don't exactly have the most experience with this trial, but there's a few things I've noticed in the times I've played it that will maybe help you guys out if you are looking to make some slight improvements. Of course, the main gimmick of this trial is these one-time use microwave triggers, and these doors alongside. Obviously you got to find the one witness and microwave him as well. Now the very obvious first thing I would say is that you want to look out for the microwave triggers, and the way you can notice them is by looking for the stands that they're on. They're always, I think, going to be on these unique stands, which are normally not in these areas, obviously, so that can help you spot them. Although, sorry bro, I also think that if you're on a higher difficulty, but also inexperienced with the trial, X-ray isn't a horrible option for finding them, I would say. But then after you've played it, a bunch of times, or even just a few times, and know at least some of the potential spawns, you maybe don't need to bring that anymore. But I'm gonna just quickly check if there's one down here somewhere. Again, I'm not totally sure where they are, but it doesn't matter too much. It obviously can be very beneficial for you to one cycle defeat the witness immediately, because then if you don't, he can spawn pretty much anywhere on the entire map and can be kind of hard to find sometimes. So one thing you'd obviously want to look out for to do that would be a brick, and then you would need 3 of these triggers. So if you had a brick, 3 triggers, and then a stun rig, you could pretty easily one cycle him. Now, if you want to get 3 of these, it's best to not use them on these gates. And for the most part, or actually entirely, I think you don't need to use them on the gates. Although, if you're going for a speed run, it might be best to try and get lucky with spawns of these triggers and just use up 1 or 2 on some of the gates. Probably only that gate would be really that big of a time save in comparison to what you can do instead, which is, as I'm demonstrating currently, simply walk around it. We do have another one of our triggers that we can grab here, so that's good. Just need 1 more to be able to defeat the witness. You will need to open a gate with a trigger to get to the witness, but there's another trigger right inside the gate that you can use to take him out as well. Obviously, we're not going to open this gate. There's one other gate that you're going to want to go around, and that's this one. This one is, of course, blocking the way into the train depot, but again, there is a very easy way around it, and that's just to go up on the train. Hopefully we can find 1 more trigger and get ourselves inside here. I'm just going to quickly check, but I'm not super concerned about actually one cycling the witness. I mean, if you know how to do witnesses, it's no different here. I guess they're officially called scapegoats, but we all call them witnesses these days because of Vindicate the Guilty, who introduced them, is where they also call them witnesses. One thing I want to point out, in case you didn't know, because I didn't know for the longest time, is that you can actually just jump up onto the train here. I don't know how, but the few times I tried to do this, I couldn't, so I thought that you couldn't do it. You do have to do it, like, kind of at certain points, but it's really not hard. So you can jump up onto the train and go through this way to, again, obviously avoid using the the single-use triggers on one of the gates. And then that's my fault. Then you obviously go down and you just open it up and deal with the witness. So yeah. That is pretty much it. The only other thing I would say is if you don't one cycle the witness, one way you can find him a little more easily without the tracker is by listening and finding Franco, who's a bit more loud and will move around, because Franco tends to spawn in near to where the witness is generally and will roam the area nearby the witness, as far as I've heard, and that I've seen that happen as well. So if you're not able to get the one cycle, which I wouldn't here because I don't have the proper equipment, but I could obviously have continued searching and gotten it if I needed. But obviously, like, this is what you would do. You would just hit him with the stun rig and then grab your next trigger and then use your brick if you had brought one. But since I can't quite get... Wait, he didn't take damage there. Are you not able to one cycle him? I actually don't know. That's the first time I've actually even tried it, I think. Interesting. Okay, maybe I'll have to try that later. But either way, if you're not able to do that, then it's even more beneficial to know that Franco does spawn nearby to where the witness is. So when you're roaming the map looking for the witness, you can do that. Obviously, you can take the tracker, which will help you find him a lot more easily. But if you don't want to take the tracker, maybe you have limited inventory for some reason or whatever, looking around for Franco can help you out. So that's it for Cook the Informant. If you have any tips of your own for this trial, definitely leave them down in the comments, as it is brand new. But yeah, we're going to be moving on to the last map that currently has MK challenges, which is Downtown. And the first one we're going to be doing here is Kidnap the Mistress. I'll see you guys for that. Here on Kidnap the Mistress, I do have a couple of tips that will hopefully help you guys out, including one that's probably going to get patched out, I assume, but just figured I'd include it in case it sticks around for longer than expected. First of all, though, in terms of finding the radios, the number one thing you want to look out for when looking for the radios is the two guys that we've affectionately labeled as the lads on stream and everything. It's these two guys. The actual crazy diabolical conversation they have is something to behold, so I would certainly listen up if you haven't before. But yeah, the lads, or the mad lads here, are going to be in 3 different locations throughout the trial, and they will have this green wire that leads away from them and to the radio. So there's basically 3 things you can look for: the radio itself, the green wire, or the lads. And also they do talk to each other until you do that radio. So you will be able to hear them as well. In fact, I already did my whole search just because I want to show the part at the end as well. I was looking around here, like this is a good spot to look for them because there's these mannequins, they can kind of blend in, but you can kind of get notice them, and sometimes the green wire will go up there, sometimes up in the fire station, different places, but they can be amongst these mannequins here. I was looking for them, and I actually heard them down beneath my feet in the sewers. So if you do listen, you could hear them in a place you might not expect. I was able to hear them downstairs from up here, which is pretty nice. They do chat rather loudly. However, you can also look for them over here. They might sometimes be amongst these cars around where these mannequins are. And again, just keep an eye out for the guys and the green laser, or sorry, the green wire. In my case, I had them over here, and then 2 locations in the sewers. So this is where I found them, right here. And then obviously the green wire goes, where does it go in this case? I actually don't see it, to be honest. I don't even remember where I found it. I think it was inside of here and upstairs in the snack bar. Interesting. Where does the green wire actually go on that one? I stumbled upon the radio first. Oh, it just goes straight up from... Okay, so there's like a microphone, and it goes straight up from there. Interesting. A little hard to even see it. But anyways, as you might have heard from that, we do have laundry, and I still like doing the... I was trying to close the door, and it made me throw my brick. I still like doing the detective work, and I listened to the radios, and I know it's A1, which is the chainsaw. Good to obviously memorize the sign at the beginning of the trial. I mean, but that's a pretty obvious tip. If you memorize the sign, or at least what is on the sign, that can definitely help you in just doing the trial without having to use this cheese. And if they patch it in the future, maybe you'll be in good shape. Also, just as the way I remember it, I just know A is left and B is right, and then I know that I just do 1, 2, 3. So I just go chainsaw drill, hand drill, and then paddle, scythe, wand. It's that's the easiest way for me to remember. And Franco is of course just gonna annoy me completely here and just ruin everything I'm trying to explain to everyone, even with don't make noise. But anyway, yeah, that is how I like to remember it, and I would recommend that is a good way to do it, but maybe there's something better that works better for you. Either way, if you don't want to remember things and you just want to cheese it in the way that's currently possible without affecting your grade, all you need to know is the location, or you could technically guess until you get it right, although there's too many locations to reasonably do that. I know this is wrong, but if I pick it up and spam right-click to drop it, it won't blow up until it hits the floor, and therefore I take no damage and have there's no consequence. So I can do that again with this one that I know is wrong. Drop it, kaboom, no damage, nothing. This was previously possible on Crush the Toys with the boxes, so I assume this will also get patched like that did. And this one, of course, I know is the one that I need. But yeah, that's basically the tips for this trial. I hope those helped you out. I really love this trial. I hope it gets added to escalation soon as well. I like the detective mechanic, and I do hope they patch the cheese, but I guess take advantage while it still exists if you like. Next up is the final trial actually of the list, and that is Spread the Disease, the other new MK. So I'll see you guys there. Okay, we are here on Spread the Disease. I've done the tutorial part, and we're going to get started with the trial. Got a few tips for this one. The first of which is just strategy based once again, and is very similar to my tip for Crush the Toys, although I think it applies even more so in this trial. And that is don't get too married to one location. You don't have to go from 0 to 100% in one sitting. You can get it from 0 to 30 and then maybe hit the levers and then leave. Especially if you were doing this on the Jaeger event, that would be a very good approach. Or if there's ever a time where you need to leave, as long as you're going for an A+, or I mean, if you're at risk of dying, of course, just leave and you'll be completely safe outside. Maybe you'll lose some progress on the percentage, but it's better than taking damage or dying if you want to get an A+. It's also nice to know how these gates work. they count down from 10 seconds, but if it's still open and you hit the lever, it resets immediately to 10 seconds. So you could reasonably keep these gates open while sort of stealthing depending on the location. You know, if I was in this location, I could kind of hide over here and you know, maybe every 10 seconds or so go and just oh, it's actually on the other side, which makes it worse, but you get the point. You can keep the gates open potentially and then easily escape if you get in trouble. Also good on this trial is the jammer, since you can open these gates from a distance, maybe from the cover of darkness where it would be safe to open it, and then you would be able to get out. Like this would be a better one to use for the safety idea. You just open this up and then just sit right here next to it and keep hitting it to keep it open. And then if you get in trouble, you can just skedaddle on out of here. So that's a very good just tactic strategy-wise. And again, don't stay for the entire 100% if it's not safe. Especially because a lot of the times, like right there and this one as well, the levers are going to be kind of near to some of the doors. So even if I had to leave by being down here, again, there's a lever right there. That one's in a bad spot on the stairs there, but in a lot of cases, the levers will be pretty near to a door. And you know, if one of the levers upstairs ends up being one of the ones I need to hit, but I leave through here, I can come back in through upstairs and get it done a lot more easily. So it's definitely very beneficial to leave in the middle of the capture protocol if you get in trouble. So that's the first thing I would say you should definitely consider doing when you are doing this trial. Now, the other thing you can do is something that I think is going to be patched, but this is a pretty big tip. It's pretty overpowered. So we'll start the capture protocol up. I hope someone actually spawns in, or I'll have to just restart and meet you guys back here. Yeah, someone is spawning in. So we opened up the door here, and you know, I should have turned off don't make noise, but maybe this will still work. All right, I'm gonna jump up and down and then get him. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to get him to come out here. Okay, there we go. We got him to come outside. And now the gate's gonna close, right? So now he's actually stuck out here. He won't, like you would think, given how things work in other trials, that he would go, you know, there's an X-Pop insertion gate right there. He could just go in there and come back out inside, but he won't. He will literally, like, Don't Make Noise makes this even more egregious. Like, if I didn't have Don't Make Noise, he would be coming after me right now. But he'll literally stand there and not move until you're done with the capture protocol, and then he will leave through the insertion gate. You just got to be careful, because if you open this gate, he'll go back in. But especially for like the snack bar and many of the other ones, there's a, you know, lever doors can be pretty far apart. So we can just go down to this lever door, open it up, and even if he tries to come down here somehow, he's not going to make it in time before the door closes. And now this capture protocol is literally completely free. And maybe even if he did try to come down here and was close, you can always, of course, stun or throw something at him. But yeah, see, as this closes, he's now completely stuck outside, and this capture protocol is completely free. And you can do this on every single one of the capture protocols that I've seen. See, he did move. He tried to come inside. I don't know where he went exactly. We can't quite see him through these extremely dirty windows, but yeah, I mean, that's obviously a pretty big cheese, you could consider it, getting them trapped outside like that, but for whatever reason, they are not able to get back in through like an insertion gate or something like that. And yeah, it just makes the capture to do completely free. So that's the biggest tip I would have for this trial, outside of the strategy tips I gave already. Again, I kind of think something like this will probably get patched. It's a little bit overpowered and kind of doesn't make too much sense why it would happen like this. So don't rely on it too much, and definitely if they do patch it in the future, make use of the other things I talked about to potentially be a little bit better at dealing with it in the normal case. The only other thing I would say is for when you're traversing the area to get back to the motel with the bottles, I would say your best bet is to, as much as possible, utilize the sewers, as they're more enclosed and you're less likely to get easily caught out by Franco in an open area like the parking lots and, you know, shot by him and lose grade points. That's the only other small tip I would have. I just want to show, if I can, if he actually will do it in front of us. I don't know. It's possible he went to a different... Yeah, okay, if you were listening really closely, you probably couldn't hear that on the YouTube video, but we did hear the sound of an XPOP insertion gate closing, so he probably, like, yeah, he probably came over here and tried to go down the stairs to get to that door I had opened, and he probably left through that gate, so... Yeah, just a demonstration of how that works, and hope that helps you guys out on doing this trial a little bit easier. Again, this one also not in escalation yet, so hoping that gets added very soon. And we'll see if that trick ends up getting patched or not. But right now, you can have some AFK X-Pops sitting outside of your captured protocol zones and get them for free. Of course, it will be more difficult on some than others to, first of all, get them to come out, and second of all, prevent them from getting back in once you go back in yourself. But it can be managed in any of the cases that you want to use it in any of these locations. So that is it, guys. That is the final tip we have for this series. I hope it helped you guys out. I hope you guys enjoyed these. Of course, again, let me know if you have any tips of your own down in the comments, and I could potentially make a follow-up video talking about those and giving credit to people who had some good ones. As well, just let me know if any of these helped you out. I could definitely make additional videos for newer trials when they come out, sharing some of these more niche tips that can help improve your gameplay. Additionally, I'm probably going to make a very, like, back to the basics, very beginner's guide to the game, and kind of try and make a bunch of little guides. I have a whole list of things that I've been considering making. Those of you interested in the tips, you can feel free to leave, but I am going to talk a little bit about my plans here. First of all, I kind of want to make a trial, an Outlast Trials general strategy, general tips video with like just various different little things for surviving trials more easily. That'll work on any trial. So a few things like the crouch hop would be a good thing to put in there. Running and closing doors while crouched or while running. Learning things like enemy boundaries to get through objectives. Like that would be kind of like intermediate to advanced levels of knowledge. And then I could make another similar video of pro level tips, things like how you can use bottles to make enemies deaf to your actual activities for a brief period, how to do hit juking on enemies, stuff like that, I would say would be pretty nice to cover in a video like that. And then, like I said, the basics of the basics, like for anyone who's really new to the game, like if you have friends you want to get into the game, you can maybe send them that sort of video, like what items are, what they do, how the game works. I think that could be valuable to just have out there. I want to make a new loadout breakdown. I want to make an amp tier list, talk about all the amps, talk about all the rigs, trials tier list, events tier list, something like that. Do a video on all the secret room locations. We got tons of content coming for Season 3 and beyond. So make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and smash the like button as well. Of course, I do stream very often on YouTube and Twitch. Most days between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I will go live. Make sure to check me out there as well. Join the Discord if you're interested in becoming a part of the community there. We have quite a few people in there already. Link will be in the description for that. Thank you guys so much for the support recently. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, I just want to go ahead and say, of course, big thanks to my channel members whose names are going to be popping up on the screen here. Special thanks to those in the Reborn Reagent tier and above. So Laura, 3 of a Kind, and Serkan Ergun. Special thanks to you guys for your generous support. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.